Welcome to episode 3, where I take my favorite climbing research papers and give you the quick practical takeaways. Today, we're looking at skill development research. Quick update, the Beta Angel Project's inventory of research papers is now updated through 2019. This paper comes from that period, so I've had some time to think through how it may apply in practice. In general, I focus on how research can lead to direct changes in coaching and training decisions. These are training protocols to try, variables to change, ways to measure response, decision making guidance, and new ways to interpret response. So today's paper is titled Behavioral Repertoire Influences the Rate and Nature of Learning in Climbing, Implications for Individualized Learning Design in Preparations for Extreme Sports Participation. This is by Orth et al., and this is one of those papers where the copyright and license information allows me to share it. And so I think this was Frontiers in Psychology 2018, and we are going to go to figure 8. And what I want to share about figure 8 is I want you to pay up. Well, first off, I'll level set you. This is, if we look at the x-axis, we're talking about sessions, so 1 through 14, 15. If we look at the y-axis, it says jerk on here, and this is a fluidity metric or an efficiency or economy metric. So hip jerk, basically, how smooth are the hips? Are there lots of stops and starts? Just think of it as what it sounds like, hip jerkiness. Um, so participant 12, if we look at participant 12, you can see this line isn't like just, has a general downward trend. Pretty cool, progressive improvement. Look at participant 14. We see a kind of like no improvement really, and then all of a sudden a big improvement, and then a plateau. If we look down here at participant 21, lower right-hand corner, you can see no improvement. And so what was interesting about this was they weren't just looking at how does somebody change over time and not thinking about the why. Why does somebody change over time? Well, in participant 21's case, they didn't really have a good understanding of the skill of manipulating your center of mass in order to, take weight away from the fingers or find a new stable position in order to reach. Specifically turn in and turn out, or internal and external hip rotation. So internal hip rotation, basically side facing onto the wall. This is like your drop knees. External hip rotation or turn out. This is like froggy, face onto the wall. And so this is like these are a part of helping you to stabilize your body. So you can take a hand off, reach, reposition, so you can take advantage of the feet or take weight away from the hands. So participant 21 never really figured that out. And it was very obvious as the authors both watched them and tracked them using measurement devices. Participant 14 started off doing face out, basically facing the wall, turn out positioning, had not yet figured out the turn in option. But then all of a sudden, this big jump, now they started to use both. So this does not say that turn out versus turn in. This says at this point they started to use both. So turn in and turn out one isn't necessarily better than the other. Is not what this paper is saying. That's kind of it's a different question. Participant 12 had both options available, and over time optimize them. So basically, what this says is we've got a metric that can help us understand how efficient we are. But then there's also this skill-related concept that if you haven't really figured out this skill, you're gonna struggle to optimize your efficiency over the long run. So I'm just gonna kind of point out another paper really quickly, and I've done some write-ups on this. This paper, again, another paper I can show you, Skill Training, Periodization, and Specialist Sports Coaching, an Introduction to the Post Framework for Skill Development by Otte, Millar, and Klatt. And this was a 2019 paper in Frontiers in Sport and Active Living. And we are going to go to, should be the first one, figure 1. Okay, so if you kind of think about this in terms of, just look at this is a periodization framework for learning skills. So if we look at just the blue, just the green, don't worry about the different categories in the green, and then just the red, this would be the portion where we're learning how to coordinate. So if we go back and we're looking at participant 21, this is where they would essentially be. They haven't figured out how to do turn in and turn out. They need to have guided exploration to be able to figure that out for themselves. One option I think I saw some researchers use was to have dual-sided holds and encourage them to both grab the side-facing the side pulls as well as um, the um, the horizontal edges, and occasionally you would make the horizontal edge worse than the side pull. So as soon as they actually grab the side pull, it encourages them to actually turn their hip into the wall. So you can do little things like that to help them explore whether or not they find these skills to begin with. Now, green would be more about where this, if we go back to participant 14, this is where this is kind of like the meat, in my opinion, of like where a lot of skill training itself goes. This is where you want to vary up the skill pretty significantly. You want to look for other strategic options or strategic alternatives for it. You want to start ramping up the situational challenge so that it becomes harder to use them. Do you rotate the feet? Do you put them more laterally, more vertically, so they're a lot more higher? You want to change those situations up so turn in and turn out really start to pull up. So first off, that this climber had to get better at turn in, not to necessarily turn out. Then you want to change all of these other things, hopefully. So, and then the red would be more as an example of, red would be more an example of performance stability training, going back to our participant 12, you know these skills. You can still get better at them. So bottom line is, I think that it's great to see that you can have an efficiency metric, and then that can track. That's kind of like an overall metric for tracking, say, how these skills are starting to develop across across time. And I just showed you one potential periodized framework for increasing skill across time. So that's it for today. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you later.